Welcome back to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm Joey Dwyer here at the top of Memorial Gymnasium after Vanderbilt's 88-72 win over Florida. Before this year, Jerry Stackhouse hadn't beaten Florida in his tenure. This year he does it twice, and today felt like a game where maybe it wasn't quite as important because of Vanderbilt's loss on Wednesday, but it was an important game in terms of getting some momentum, especially recruiting momentum. I'll talk more about that later in the video, but it feels like Vanderbilt kind of righted the ship today after a rough loss on Wednesday. It ended their 5-game winning streak. Vanderbilt needed this one and got it over Florida. Feels like Vanderbilt now has some positive momentum heading into Kentucky on Wednesday, which would have been their biggest game of the year had they won on Wednesday. Now, not quite as big, but one that still feels important. Vanderbilt has a lot of momentum going into that, and today, just because of their offense, Vanderbilt had 88 points today, shot it, over 50% from the field, over 40% from three, and knocked down 10 threes. Liam Robbins was a huge catalyst today. Tyrin Lawrence was really solid. Ezra Manjon had 15 points. Just feels like an all-around nice effort for Vanderbilt. And I wrote about Colin Smith as well, who seems to be emerging at this point in the year. Jerry Stackhouse kind of echoed that, saying Colin Smith is a guy I trust heading into the next year, and is getting good experience now. He played 30 minutes tonight, which is most of SEC play. It feels like Colin Smith, again, a guy who's trending in the right direction, and Vanderbilt as a team has been doing that recently. Outside of that loss on Wednesday, it feels like this team is, we've kind of seen who this team is, and today was another example of what it can be and what it has been for the most part throughout February and really throughout late January as well. It just feels like this team is kind of hitting a stride and playing their best basketball at the best time of year. Will it be enough for the NCAA tournament? Probably not unless they win the SEC tournament. Today doesn't change that, but certainly a nice win for them as well, just to kind of get some of that positive momentum as it heads into the SEC tournament, heads into Kentucky, two of the bigger games of the year. Vanderbilt now kind of has something to hang its hat on as it heads into that, and if they can continue that on Wednesday against Kentucky, I guess we start the tournament discussions again. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to get in, even with those two games, or even with today, even with Kentucky, but I guess a lot of positive momentum will be in Vanderbilt's favor after that game if they can win it. But really a solid win today. The offense was really solid, but Jerry Stackhouse pointed to the defense as what he thought won the game. It felt like Vanderbilt really got after Florida at times, maybe not as much as the Tennessee game or the Auburn game, but it felt like Vanderbilt kind of is turning a corner defensively. It didn't do that on Wednesday very well, but there's a pattern to when Vanderbilt wins, and it's when its defense is good enough to maybe not carry it, but good enough to complement its offense and good enough to win games for him. Florida scored 72 points, but a lot of that was due to pace. And Jerry Stackhouse said again in this presser, like we can play at any pace. And I think that's an advantage of this team throughout the year, is just kind of all the styles it's seen. It's seen VCU, who wants to slow you down, wants you to force you into turnovers. You've seen Florida, who wants to run up and down the floor all game. You've seen St. Mary's, who just wants to lull you to death. Vanderbilt's seen a lot of teams and a lot of different styles, and I think that really helps them at this point in the year, and is a lot of the reason that it's where it is. It's just kind of all the teams that it's scheduled, and you call Jerry Stackhouse whatever you want for kind of the way he built his non-conference schedule, but Vanderbilt has seen a lot of really good teams throughout the non-conference, and obviously has seen really good teams in SEC play, and a lot of those teams are different, play a lot of different styles, and Vanderbilt really hasn't been susceptible to one in particular, so really solid to see there that Vanderbilt was able to kind of run with Florida. Maybe didn't dictate the pace of the game, but Vanderbilt has been really good in transition lately and been really good kind of flowing that offense at any pace it really needs to, and today was another example. Liam Robbins had 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 blocks. That's kind of out of nowhere, but I think on this show we probably should have started doing a Liam Robbins watch sooner rather than later, so I just wanted to bring up Liam Robbins. Tyrin Lawrence also really solid tonight. Maybe isn't the most noteworthy game from him, but again, just another example of kind of what he can do in isolation, what he can do getting downhill, and how valuable that's going to be for Vanderbilt moving forward. It feels like throughout this last week or so, kind of look into next year and look into what's important heading into next year. Obviously, you don't exactly know what the roster is going to look like, but you know Tyrin Lawrence is going to be probably the key piece in the backcourt, probably the key piece of the entire roster. So you love to see performances like that from him. Ezra Manjon has really grown comfortable within Vanderbilt's offense, grown comfortable within what Vanderbilt wants to do, and that's another positive sign. Colin Smith, like Jerry Stackhouse said, is just a guy who's kind of emerging at the right time, and a guy he trusts going down and making plays in games like this. He trusts his shot making, and he trusts his older guys in that backcourt who are going to be key pieces for him. Tyrin Lawrence has 2 years as well of eligibility, so certainly a lot to like in terms of Vanderbilt's backcourt and in terms of the future. Obviously, maybe not an NCAA tournament team right now if the season were to end, and maybe not an NCAA tournament team next year if the roster sticks the way it has right now, but a lot to like in the future. They have that class of Isaiah West coming in. Carter Lang's also in that class, and today JaQualon Roberts was on campus, was sitting about there throughout the night. So you feel like Vanderbilt has some positive things, and a lot of that starts with recruiting. Vanderbilt's really put it on the gas over the last 2 weeks. Today had JQ Roberts on campus, had Trent Perry, the 2024 guard, on campus, and had another 2023 forward, Michael Thomas, on campus. So just feels like a lot of good things happening in the recruiting world for Vanderbilt right now. Last weekend, Isaiah West, Carter Lang, Karis Bilal were on campus along with Travis Perry. I know that's going to get people mixed up, Travis Perry and Trent Perry, two of their top guard targets in 2024, and two guys who would really help Jerry Stackhouse out. But also MJ Thomas today, who was on campus, seems to have some strong interest in Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt seems to like him. Currently don't have a spot for him. Vanderbilt's currently over in terms of scholarships. The two guys who have to leave are Liam Robbins and Emmanuel Ansong. Quinn Malloy-Brown technically has another year from what I've gathered. So they're one over right now, but if that spot opens, it feels like MJ Thomas is a guy who they like to take that spot. He's a 6'8", I guess more of a 4, really good rebounder. Just Vanderbilt likes his ability to switch a little bit. Just feels like a guy who maybe not a super highly rated guy, or maybe not a Liam Robbins type player, but a guy who can kind of do some dirty work and kind of be what Emmanuel Ansong was for them this year, and what Colin Smith has been for them lately. Just kind of steady, good energy. Maybe he can develop more of an outside game as he gets older, but just a big recruiting weekend for Vanderbilt again. He's been on campus this weekend. Trent Perry, obviously one of their big targets in 2024, is on campus. Travis Perry last weekend. So lots of like in terms of Vanderbilt's recruiting. You got to land those guys though, and I do think it's nice that they brought the Perrys on separate weekends, because you probably need to get one of those guys. Can't put all your eggs in one of those baskets, and it feels like Vanderbilt has done a nice job kind of diversifying their portfolio in terms of who they want to complement Karis Bilal with, but ultimately it comes down to their ability to land them. And I didn't think this would turn into a recruiting show, but there's been a lot of recruiting stuff happening lately. I just wanted to talk about it, especially because Vanderbilt's kind of out of striking distance on the bubble at the moment. Probably not going to have that conversation again until SEC tournament time, but it feels like Vanderbilt has some positive recruiting momentum, has really hit the trail hard lately, especially guys like Michael Curry and Adam Fox on staff have done a really nice job from what I've gathered as well. So wanted to do a quick segment on recruiting there, but today I think the most important thing for Vanderbilt is the momentum it has going forward, and kind of the confidence it's able to gather. After a game like this, where you hit 10 threes, the offense is flowing, you don't turn it over all that much, you rebound well, and play better defense. Just feels like a really solid outing for Vanderbilt, and one it can build on moving into Kentucky and build on as it heads to the SEC tournament. So thank you guys for watching. God bless, and peace.